Oh, we're back. Proof of Delivery, episode 9, a pod about a pod. And I am Matt Leffler, the armchair attorney. I'm taking over. All your freight are belong to us. Thank you, Ken and Carrie, for allowing me the opportunity to host this incredible program. We've been talking about this incredible experience all week. You've been watching, you've been waiting. Where, oh, where will Matthew Leffler show up next? Well, ask yourself no more. We are here. And it's not just me. Oh, no, no, no. If it was just me, I couldn't lead you to that great place you want to be. Where you need to be is at the cutting edge of freight and technology. And there's only one guy I think about when I think the cutting edge of freight and technology, AVRL. It's not pronounced Avril or Avril. I've been corrected multiple times. No, we will have Chad Olison joining us in just a few moments. But let me set the stage. It is August, soon to be September. It is back to school. And as a father of 4, let me tell you, it did not come soon enough. But they're back. The littles are still home. But the big ones, they're gone. They're out. They have things to do. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to my good friend and relatively new father, Chad Olison. Chad, how are you?
I'm doing so well, man. I appreciate you having me.
I'm so glad
And
we were able to
and
put this together.
congratulations on the new role.
I know. I mean, you have been one of the early supporters of our efforts here. I didn't think it was going to be possible. I really worked hard with the encouragement of people like you and Charlie Safro. I know it's only temporary, but presumably the folks at Roper and DAT will say, wow, this Leffler guy, he seems to know something about talking into a microphone.
You've had a lot of practice, right?
I try, man. I try. It's you never get good at it. You practice. That's like being a lawyer. You practice. You never perfect it. So I'm in the process of getting better. But
Judge,
how are you, man? What's new and exciting by you?
First of all, judging by the amount of content you send me that you've recorded that you don't post online, I'm guessing that you probably only post maybe 5% of the total recordings.
There's a deep catalog of the things we think are going to be good. And if I don't get like a great engagement from you in those messages I send at 2 and 3 in the morning, there's no point to keep doing it. There's just none. So I appreciate when you're responsive because you're up with the baby. I mean, you have these things. Speaking of the baby, how old is the baby?
7 months.
7 months.
Yeah.
Did you think it was going to go that fast?
No, it's so much faster than I could have expected. I don't even like. I feel like time really accelerates once you have a kid.
I agree. So I have 4. I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and I have twins that are 2.5. And what I learned about being a father was that 2 a.m. happens every single day. And I wasn't sure. I was much younger days. I didn't know it was always a time that happened. Have you become more familiar with those very, very early hours of the mornings?
No comment.
Well, let's talk about your first kid. Your first kid, AVRL. Am I saying this right?
That's right.
What is an AVRL?
So AVRL originally stood for Advanced Voice Research Labs, and most people in the industry don't realize that this voice AI that's coming into the market right now, we tried to do that exact same use case in 2017. However, the market was really afraid of natural language processing, really afraid of voice technology at that time. We were just a little early, and I had a really large carrier intermodal company that asked me, rather than doing that, if I could do something else, which was automating their transactional spot freight. And so we actually pivoted as an organization. We still have all the tech that we built in 2017, but we just don't deploy it.
That's incredible because, like, I love the robots. I mean, let me be very clear for the robots and deep language learning models that are listening. I'm on your side. I will betray the humans at the first opportunity. At the first opportunity, I know who wins. The Terminator was a documentary filmed in real time in the future. So let me just be clear there. But you get this moment where you've built something and then you have a customer say, I have a different way we could work together. How did you react? Did you just go pivot immediately, or is there internal dialogue? Like, is this the change we want to have?
Yeah, we're venture backed, right? And so we have a board, and everything has to go to the board to make a strategic shift in our business model. The change was that For us, we were trying to figure out what product market fit is today. And I still really feel like voice AI agents don't have true product market fit. However, they will at some point in time versus building a real business now. And that's the dilemma that we went into. We could go in and try and pave the way for this future innovation that exists, or we could come in and rip and replace a lot of the RPA that existed. And we did it. We did it really fast without any advertising. And I think everyone still tells me today, like, I don't know how you accomplish what you did without advertising. I think today we work with, 70% of the top 100 3PLs. A lot of companies still don't even know who we are.
I will say we'll plant a flag on your advertising and marketing, because that is a story that I find fascinating. But I want to go back a little bit on this idea of venture backed. So I have my own company. I'm not venture backed. I'm adventure backed. That's a really good pun. I hope everyone enjoyed that. But you're going to find venture capital. So many people aspire to this. They think, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to make something interesting. And then the investment community will come and they will say, I want this. When do you go to venture cap? Do you have a prototype? Do you have an idea? Like, what does that pathway look like?
I think for each company, it's different. I think that there are pathways to going and obtaining venture capital pre-product. I think that there are pathways to obtaining venture capital, post-product, but you're pre-revenue. There are companies that go post-revenue, et cetera. For us as an organization, we were at about 50,000 in monthly revenue before we raised a dime. Wow. And the difference is that my CTO and myself and like our original team, we still retain 100% ownership of AVRL versus some of these other companies who might give away, 20% each round, 30% each round. And so the less you have, the more you give up. And so for us, I know when Ryan Joyce at Genlogs raised his last round of funding, he wrote to me on LinkedIn. He's like, you were the first person that I thought about when we did this announcement. He was like, I was embarrassed that we did it. And every business is different. And I think that a lot of people get like confused with me thinking that I'm anti-venture capital. That's not the case. For my business, it works for us to grow with revenue. For another business, they might need to raise a lot of money to accelerate to outpace their competition. It just depends.
It's interesting because I find the stories of entrepreneurs fascinating, because your initial comment is really well taken. There's a million different paths to get to a certain place. My own father, his company, he started in the 90s. It was just him, no partners, no investors. It's just outsourced fleet services is Gregory Burrell Leffler. Like, that is the same thing. And he never wanted anyone else to tell him what to do. I mean, he listened to his customers, but he didn't think he wanted to go down that other path. Now, what I find so interesting about your comment here on, when you raise money, because you and I have talked offline, I'll bring the listeners up to speed. I have a startup that I'm in the process of incubating. It's the first ever milk as a service product offering. It's at-home delivery of milk. And then there's a reverse logistics component where people come and collect the milk. And I'm pre-revenue, I'm pre-seed, I'm pre- everything. But like, when should I go to the broader investment community and say, I have this sensational idea? What would you recommend?
Well, I think you need to tell these people that you're planning to milk mice. But that will require a ton of infrastructure.
Not
right?
Intentional. Not intentional.
Okay, I don't know, but that's what you text me, so I'm just going to go with that.
So fair. Okay.
In an environment like that, you're going to need a ton of capital, right? You're going to need infrastructure.
Milk is very expensive to store. It's been very expensive.
It doesn't have a long shelf life, which means that you have to get it into market ASAP. There's a lot of regulation because people are going to consume it. That kind of company would need to raise money pre-product, guaranteed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I got a lot of milk in the warehouse, and the bill for electricity is very expensive. Okay, let me segue off of this. Let's go back to the advertising and marketing. You are, without a doubt, one of the most innovative marketers in the space that I have ever encountered. There are people that have enormous budgets that are building out lots of cool events. You are running a race of a website that says, in my mind, I know it doesn't say this, but in my mind, it's I don't need to work with you. Like, I don't need it. Like, if you want to work with me, fine. I'd be happy to work with you, but like, I don't need it. I don't want it. And then you're on LinkedIn posting incredible commentary that I try my best to stay on top of. When did you kind of figure out a way to market and advertise your product in a way that was going to really drive an ROI that's probably unreachable for every other company out there?
Um, when we came into transportation and logistics, we planned to advertise our company. And it was probably 3 months into the use case that we were deploying with this intermodal company. And I did write about it on LinkedIn. And then maybe 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I saw another company saying they could do the exact same thing. And I understand that a lot of the market believes that competition does breed like growth. However, when you're a new startup and you're really trying to find product market fit and bring a product to market that transforms an industry, I actually do think that over advertising your product can massively harm you. I think if you look at what's happening in the industry today, a lot of people are fighting over use cases. They're trying to fight over, hey, we can do the same thing as this company, but it's a little bit different because of X. I was trying to avoid that from happening. And there are a lot of innovative companies in transportation. There are a lot of great technology companies in transportation. However, the one thing that I had over them is that I knew a use case in and out. And so if we could get it in front of a large segment of the top third-party logistics companies and the top carriers and work our way down, we would have an advantage when other people tried to enter the market. If you go into the top 10, a lot of the top 10 will tell you, like if you were trying to sell against us, they would say, hey, we're already doing this. They won't say that they're using AVRL for that product. They'll just say that they're already doing it internally.
Interesting.
And so to try and sell against that creates this massive uphill battle. And I have a competitor right now that is exiting the market on a use case that we deploy, and they're transitioning their customers to us.
Wow.
And it's just because like when you try and compete with someone who has a large enough market share, how do you support something long-term if you're not growing that product, right? It's really difficult.
If you're going to enter a domain, you better be prepared to be the best in class. Otherwise, why would you bother? Why would you bother to be mediocre? Now, I would love to kind of get a better understanding of what AVRL is doing. So you talk about use cases, you talk about some level of automation, but I'm just a humble, simple country lawyer. I can barely pronounce API. Is it API? Is that how you say it? Like, I don't know. What does AVRL do for its customers that is kind of unlocking this value that you see?
That's an interesting question. It's a good question. And I think we're still trying to figure that out as our own organization. I wrote this like post a couple weeks ago that we just hit like Inc. 500 or Inc. 5,000 4 years in a row. And I feel like we're still in like the first inning. And our model is continuously trying to change and evolve to support the 3PL where they need to meet. If you fast forward 4 years when we came into this space, we wanted to be an automation provider. We wanted to automate transactional spot freight. And our first customers were some of the largest 3PLs with massive data science teams, massive pricing organizations that understood the market relatively well. As we started to scale down the top 100 or 200, et cetera, we started to work with companies who don't understand pricing, who don't understand DAT's tools, who don't understand other market tools. And they're having a really hard time automating transactional spot bidding. So our tooling starts to evolve into helping them benchmark against DAT, helping them buy relative to the rest of the market. How do we empower them with other data points that they need? And eventually what we've come to the realization is that we want to be the McKinsey of transactional spot freight, where we don't just deploy technology. We come in with the strategy and work with you on deploying the strategy that works with your network, with your shippers, to help you not just win more freight, but how do we extract yield out of the market? And so that's where we are at today.
When I heard you speak at the Journal of Commerce Inland Distribution Conference, I think it was last year, but you speak at a lot of interesting places. One of the things you brought up was like a normal broker maybe pricing out like 20, 30, 50, like they could go out there and they could make some bids. You're talking magnitudes of more opportunity. Can you give me a sense of like how much more are you able to do versus those weak, tiny human beings?
I would say that today, if you went into a brokerage that didn't use automation, they're probably evaluating maybe 10% of the entire market that they have opportunity to evaluate. They're probably participating in less than 2% of the entire freight market. that they have on the transactional side.
And then you
So
come
when you
in,
look at automation,
unlock.
you unlock evaluating 100% of that market. You unlock a massive percent of participation and yield expansion, really just from a volume play. But we want to help them understand where they're not buying well, where they're buying well. I think if you walk into most 3PLs and you ask them, hey, what are your top 15 lanes? They can tell you where they move the most volume from the top 15 lanes, but they could not tell you where they have the most competitive buying power on the top 15 lanes. That's really important for that organization to not only just to bid that way, but also to communicate with their shipper. It's really hard to start beating the top 3PLs if they're literally meeting with their shipper and they're like, hey, do you know I could buy better on this lane, this lane, this lane, this lane than you're currently paying your provider?
So is it fair to say you're kind of like the connective tissue between these massive enterprise brokerages and the shippers? Is that where the connectivity is in the automation side of things, or am I completely off base?
I don't want to say that we are the connective tissue, because I think that there's another organization. I think if you talk to Jet, he would probably say that they're the connective tissue.
Sure.
We are probably the execution layer from the broker or the asset-based provider to the shipper. There's much more than just connecting. It's a full calculation and giving these 3PLs and carriers more data points than they've ever had before to calculate information when trying to define what they're predicting their cost at like higher capacity will be at a specific point in time.
It's incredible, because when you describe these things, I've seen demos of the platform. It's just mind-boggling to see what you've automated in that workflow and how much you've unlocked. We had a conversation about a LinkedIn post you had not too long ago about how one of your customers was down on revenue, but their profit margin was up. Down in volume, but they were up in margin. And that's like the greatest problem in the world. Like, from my own background, like if I can get rid of revenue, but end up capturing more profit, like I want that business. So do you hear stories like this all the time?
I'm going to talk about this customer because they got mad at me the last podcast that I was on for not name dropping them. But the guy's name's Blake Wallace. He runs Greenbush Logistics out of Dothan, Alabama. And they are owned by a company called Yellowwood, which is a paper manufacturer, or a wood manufacturer. They have a brokerage, probably around 100 million. And we implemented a model with them last year before I hired someone on my team named Colin McChesney, who has been in the industry for a really long time. And he's coming in and helping our customers understand their data more, understand where they're buying well, where they're not buying well, where they should be moving in the market, how they should be looking at their analytics. And that's how we really view customer success is, can I help someone win more freight at more profitable margins? And we worked with Blake for about 4 months on redoing his entire model. And we decreased their volume by 25% by eliminating all the bad freight that they were winning, and increased their margin by 80%.
That's like the kind of partner you want. Like I've had plenty of, like when I'm in the side of procurement, people coming to me and saying, hey, I want to sell you something. It's generally like all these promises of like, oh, we're going to unlock all this value, just pay the subscription. But you have customers that are coming to you and saying, you were right. Like you were right all along. Now we've unlocked this thing. As you look to the future, because I'm gonna pivot now. We've talked about what AVRL is doing. We talked about the wonderful world of being a new father. The age of autonomous trucks are coming. Every chance I get, I want to talk about this, because I look at this and go, there will be a day when a portion of over-the-road freight is moved by a driverless truck. There will be a time. How does someone like AVRL think? Do you or just Chad? How does Chad think about this eventuality in the business?
I think that we're already meeting with companies on how do we connect our automation and bidding into fleets already and into capacity. I have a customer that's a large asset-based player. They have to move 8 trucks outbound Atlanta each day into the Midwest. We have a completely different bidding strategy for those first 8 loads that we win. After it's done, we flip into their brokerage pricing model. We will be talking to the autonomous like trucks the exact same way of where do you need to be? Where are you going? Now, a lot of people have been using dispatchers for that for a long time, right? You don't need to. We can literally look at our active capacity needs and we can create real-time bidding strategies based off of where we need a truck today, tomorrow, in 4 days from now, etc.
It's interesting because I looked at like the trend of the freight brokers after deregulation was this massive growth, the offshoring, getting people to do outsourced kind of work, and then like you bringing it back with automation. Do you see categories kind of disappearing? Like, will the dispatcher role over time? Like, do you see areas of our supply chains kind of get completely automated, or will there always be humans in the mix as you see it?
It's a good question. I think that the human ends up driving strategy, and I think the role of the human in the brokerage or in the asset based carrier shifts and changes and transforms. I think that there will always be a human in the mix. I think that what happens is as you implement more and more comprehensive automation, the relationship becomes more important, more than ever. And I'm sure people would argue that the relationship was more important in like, you know, the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. But if I can be an actual data point for the shipper and I can tell them where they have holes in their routing guide, where there's opportunity in the market, what they should be doing, I can be a true advisor to them and help them really make their business better. Those are the brokers that win. When you look at the dispatcher, I think some of the AI voice tech today that's in the market is probably not necessarily only working on carrier sales. They're probably working on opportunities to automate the dispatch. And I think that we tend to look at a product or a piece of technology for what it is and what it's being advertised for. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the end state of that technology, especially in a huge knife fight like they're in today. You've got, 7, 8, maybe 10 voice technology companies all going after the same use case. What are there? Maybe 2,000. I think Ken would get mad at me for saying 2,000. What are there? Maybe like 1,000 3PLs that could really buy technology.
That's one of the things I've always really admired about you is how candid you are with your obsession for your customer. Like you want to see your customer be successful, but also when you're like, I'm not going to provide value for you like this, you're not ready for working with me. And there's so many other companies out there that they will say, like, yeah, yes, of course, our thing is the solution for you. What is your problem again? Like just they kind of start with this mentality of everyone's a customer, every use case we can win, every opportunity we drive it. And in software, we really evaluate the renewal rate. Like that's the real proxy for success. And I think what you've shown is that you don't have to go out there and say, we can do everything. It's we do this thing better than anyone else that has ever done it. And that's why people work with us. And if they don't, then they're not ready for it.
And I've had customers, I think we've probably had 4 or 5 customers that have left us and have come back because they went to go build it themselves or they went to a different partner and came back. And from my team, those are the big wins for us is that, okay, we've either transformed enough internally, our model is moving so much differently that now they have confidence in us deploying it. We're not going to mess this up again. But yeah, we evaluate renewals only. Like that's it.
That's it. That is what I like. Again, like when I go back to like well-run organizations that are in the space that you occupy, the success rate is not how many deals close. Those are interesting. Those are important. But if it's a one-time revenue thing or it's a one-time year contract and it's over, you've just hired your own turnover, and you don't want that. You want to have people that are raving fans. So you don't need this massive marketing department. You just need you posting online about all sorts of very interesting philosophical things. I'd like to go ahead.
I was going to say, on that model, I mean, part of our not advertising is if a customer asked us for, can you introduce us to a customer? We're going to respond also hey, we can do that. It's going to be a slam dunk. You should probably actually just go call 10 of your friends and ask them if they can connect you to someone. Because I don't want this just there's a biased person that's yeah, AVRL is great and I'm giving them kickbacks. That's insane. It happens constantly.
Well, I can understand that. Now, as we kind of get ready to close out this conversation, I'm really kind of curious. Like I had on my own podcast, not Proof of Delivery, which I'm so excited to be the guest host, hopefully in perpetuity, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Kary and Ken are on vacation. They're going to have a great time. The market's not looking great.
Yeah.
Everything we see on the data from the consumer side, student loan delinquencies are up, credit card deficiencies or delinquencies are up, car loan defaults are up. So a lot of like consumer stress. And then we still have a lot of capacity in the market. What are you seeing in terms of like, what does the rest of this year look like? Or what do you have thoughts about that?
I don't know. I honestly don't have thoughts. I'm just trying to be an observer into the market. I honestly have customers that are having best months ever, and I have customers that are getting their asses kicked. And I don't know. I think that there are organizations who understand like, hey, we have to reduce costs regardless of, we're just going to reduce complete cost, and they're going to shed as many people and they're going to shed as much technology as possible. And there are customers that are wisely investing in the future. One of the biggest misses, in my opinion, from transportation companies is that they do not take analytics seriously, because it's not something that puts more freight on the board immediately. And I look at some of these customers that they're investing in analytics at this insane rate, and the amount of service that they're able to provide to their customer. There's the shipper Walmart. They just selected 5 top brokers and carriers that now have access to a different set of freight than anybody else. And it was because you have to have 97% compliance from a scorecard to be able to access that. But the companies that focused on that and like focused on servicing their customer versus just shredding cost now have a complete like advantage as like regardless of the market condition.
That's a great point you bring up, because I think what a lot of people, when they think about our industry of transportation and logistics, this is a $1 trillion a year domestic industry. It's massive. And it has always been feast or famine. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And the companies that are able to endure this and plan for this and thrive in this do amazing. Like these times, these market conditions are the best times to be an entrepreneur, because now you get a chance to like, oh, it's easy to win when everything's great, but when you win and it's tough, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. So you got to get excited. Now, what is on the horizon for you the rest of this year? Are you traveling? Are you going places? Like, what's up in your world?
I'm actually on Thursday. I'm heading to Norway for a couple of weeks. I'm going to take Sloan, the little one, to visit some family there and seeing the homeland, and just kind of relax and be in the mountains for a little while. And
how long is that flight?
I would have to ask my wife. I have no idea. I don't do it. My wife's superstar. She does all of that stuff. I think we take like a 9-hour flight to London and then a 2-hour flight.
It's a long flight. I'm terrified of flying. For the folks who are watching and listening, I am terrified of flying. I'm getting better. Well, Chad, I want to say thank you for joining the podcast today. Proof of Delivery. We've delivered. Where can people find more about you and the incredible work you're doing at AVRL?
Honestly, if you look for me on LinkedIn, it's probably the best place. We don't have very much information about our organization online.
And you can find me in the comment section of your incredible posts from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to find Matthew, you just look at one of my LinkedIn posts and he will definitely be a commenter on that.
I try my best, not all the time, but I do the best I can. Well, Chad, thank you for joining us. Chad Olesen, the CEO, founder of AVRL, not Avril Lavigne, different thing, but still an incredible company. If you do not know Chad, if you don't know AVRL, you have to check them out. And thank you to our friends at DAT, Dial a Truck. Since 1978, DAT has been helping brokers and motor carriers move freight. Thank you for having me, and have a great rest of your day. I froze for a second, but I'm still here. I'm still alive. I think we did it. Is it still?